Welcome to a special breaking news edition of our Australian Open coverage. We are coming to you live with a story that has just sent shockwaves not just through Melbourne Park, but is currently reverberating across the Pacific, from the bustling streets of Tokyo to the celebratory heart of Manila. If you are a follower of tennis, if you respect the hierarchy of the doubles court, you know that there are certain names you pencil in for the second week of a Grand Slam. You look at the draw, you see the seeds, and you assume safety. Today, the Australian Open reminded us that on the blue hard courts of Melbourne, reputation means nothing and hunger means everything. We have just witnessed what is arguably the most significant doubles upset of the tournament so far. The headline is stark, it is unexpected, and for one side of the net, it is absolutely devastating. The Japanese doubles powerhouse, the veteran tactician and the current world number 4, Shuko Aoyama, has been knocked out. But it is who delivered the knockout blow that makes this story so compelling. This wasn't a case of a high-seeded clash. This was a rebellion led by the Philippines' golden girl, Alexandra EALA, and her Brazilian partner, the fiery Ingrid Martens. Against the odds, against the rankings, and against a vast experience gap, EALA and Martens have orchestrated a masterclass in disruption. They have defeated the formidable pairing of Shuko Aoyama and Magda Linette in a match that defied every pre-game prediction. Let's contextualize this for a moment. Shuko Aoyama is tennis royalty in the doubles format. She is a technician of the highest order, a player who sees angles on the court that others simply do not. To see her exit this early against an unseeded duo that was largely written off as talented but raw is the kind of drama that defines the Australian Open. For the Philippines, this is another where were you moment in the career of Alex EALA. We talk so much about her singles journey, her rise to the ITF circuit, her historic junior wins. But today, she showed a level of maturity at the net and a tactical awareness in doubles that suggests she is evolving into a complete, dangerous threat on all fronts. And for Ingrid Martens, this is the validation of her aggressive, no-holds-barred style, proving that she can stand toe-to-toe with the world's top 5. In this deep dive special, we are not just going to give you the score. We are going to deconstruct the anatomy of this upset. How did they do it? How do you dismantle a world number 4? We'll look at the specific tactical shifts in the second set, the mental fortitude required in the tiebreak, and the statistical anomalies that left the Japanese-Polish duo scrambling for answers. We will analyze the shock factor, why the Japanese media is calling this a disaster for their medal hopes, and why the international tennis community is suddenly paying very close attention to the EALA-Martens partnership. This is not just a match result. It is a statement. The guard is changing, and today, it changed violently. Stay with us. We are going deep into the numbers, the psychology, and the raw emotion of a match that will be talked about for the rest of the tournament. This is the story of how the world number 4 fell. This is the story of the Melbourne Miracle. To understand the magnitude of this victory, we first have to understand the mountain that EALA and Martens had to climb. Let's talk about Shuko Aoyama. When you see Aoyama's name on a draw sheet, you are looking at one of the most consistent forces in modern women's doubles. Ranked world number 4 coming into this tournament, she carries an aura of invincibility in the early rounds. Her game is not built on brute power. It is built on geometry. She is a chess player in a world of checkers. Her ability to poach at the net, her lightning-fast hands, and her lob volleys are the stuff of nightmares for opponents. Partnering with Magda Linette, a player with incredible baseline stability and a heavy forehand. This team was built to go deep. They were balanced. Aoyama the surgeon at the net, Linette the anchor at the back. On the other side, we have the wild cards of a narrative, not in terms of draw entry, but in terms of predictability. Alexandra EALA and Ingrid Martens. This is a partnership of fire and ice. EALA, the left-handed dynamo from the Philippines, brings that tricky lefty spin and a refusal to give up on any ball. Martens, a Brazilian, brings raw power and an imposing net presence. But on paper, the gap was massive. The experience differential alone should have been decisive. The match began exactly as the pundits predicted. The first set was a clinic by Aoyama. It was almost clinical to the point of being painful to watch for EALA fans. Aoyama was everywhere. Every time EALA tried to cross court, Aoyama was there to intercept. Every time Martins tried to crush a return, Aoyama absorbed the pace and redirected it into the open court. They took the first set efficiently. It looked like a routine day at the office for the world number 4. The commentators were already discussing Aoyama's potential quarterfinal opponents. The narrative was written, but this is where the deep dive really begins. Because tennis is a sport of momentum, and momentum is a fragile thing. The shift happened early in the second set, and it started with a tactical adjustment from the EALA Martins camp. In the first set, they were trying to hit through Aoyama. They were trying to overpower her. It didn't work because you cannot overpower a wall that redirects your energy. In the second set, they changed the geometry. EALA started using her lefty forehand not to blast the ball, but to dip it at Aoyama's feet. This is a golden rule of doubles. Make the volleyer volley up. By forcing Aoyama to dig balls out from her shoelaces, they neutralize her greatest weapon, her punch volley. Suddenly, the world number 4 wasn't dictating. She was reacting. At the same time, Ingrid Martins stepped up her aggression. She started poaching. And I don't mean tentative movements. I mean bold, risky crosses. She began intercepting Lynette's cross-court drives, cutting off a supply line to the baseline. It rattled Lynette. You could see the frustration building in the Polish player's body language. The second set went to a tiebreak, and this is where the mental game comes in. Aoyama has played hundreds of tiebreaks. EALA and Martins have played a fraction of that at this level. Logic dictates a veteran holds their nerve. But logic didn't account for the hunger of the underdogs. There was a specific point at 4-4 in the tiebreak that turned the tide. A grueling 18-shot rally. All 4 players at the net. A chaotic exchange of reflex volleys. Usually, Aoyama wins that. She is the reflex queen. But this time, it was Alex EALA who held her ground, reflexing a smash right back past Aoyama's ear. That point didn't just win them the set. It broke the aura of invincibility. You could see Aoyama look at her partner, as if to say, they aren't going away. Winning the second set was one thing. Closing out the match in the third was entirely another. The third set was a war of attrition. Aoyama and Lynette regrouped. They stopped giving EALA the angles. They started lobbing Martins, forcing the Brazilian back, testing her overheads. It was smart veteran play. They went up a break, 3-1, then 4-2. At 4-2 down in the decider, against the world number 4, 99% of unseeded teams fold. They pack their bags. They say, we played a good match. And they go home. EALA and Martins did not fold. The comeback began with EALA's service game. She found a rhythm on her first serve that had been missing all match, landing 3 aces in a single game to hold for 4-3. That hold was crucial. It kept them in touching distance. Then came the game of the tournament. Aoyama serving at 4-3. This game lasted 12 minutes. 6 deuces. EALA and Martins had break point, lost it. Had another, lost it. The tension was palpable. The crowd, sensing the upset, began to rally behind the underdogs. The Aussie crowd loves a fighter, and they saw 2 fighters in EALA and Martins. On the 7th deuce, Martins unleashed a return down the line, a risk of the highest order. It painted the line. Break point number 3. This time they converted. A miscommunication between Aoyama and Lynette, a rare, shocking collision of rackets in the middle of the court, allowed the ball to drop, 4-4. The momentum had completely swung. The Japanese press in the media box were stunned. The shocker was unfolding in real time. At 5-5, the pressure on Aoyama, the world number 4, was immense. She is expected to hold. She is expected to win. And that weight is heavy. She double faulted at 15-30. It was a crack in the armor. EALA and Martins pounced. They broke to go up 6-5, serving for the match. The most difficult game in tennis. Alex EALA stepped up to the line. The 20-year-old, carrying the hopes of a nation that is starved for Grand Slam glory. The first point, a nervous error. 0-15. The second point, a brilliant volley by Aoyama. 0-30. It looked like the fairy tale was collapsing. But this is where champions are forged. EALA didn't dial back. She dialed in. She served a kicker out wide to Lynette's backhand, setting up a smash from Martins. 15-30, then a service winner, 30-30. At 30-30, we saw the point of the match. A lob, a chase, a defensive squash shot from EALA, and then a sudden injection of pace from Martins. Aoyama was finally beaten by a passing shot that clipped the tape and rolled over. Match point. The final point was almost anticlimactic in its execution, but monumental in its result. A strong serve from EALA, a floating return from Lynette, and Martins put the simple volley away. Game, set, match. EALA and Martins. The scoreboard froze, but the realization swept through the stadium instantly. The world number 4 was out. The Giants had been slain. Let's analyze the stats for a moment, because they tell a fascinating story. Aoyama and Lynette actually won more points in total. They had a higher first serve percentage. But in the clutch points, break points saved, tie break points won, EALA and Martins were superior. They won 70% of the points that lasted over 9 shots. That is a statistic that usually belongs to veterans, not the challengers. It shows that physically and mentally, they were prepared to suffer for this win. For Shuko Aoyama, this is a disaster. There is no other word for it. When you are ranked 4th in the world, a first-week exit is a failure of objective. Questions will be asked about her partnership with Lynette. Did they lack chemistry under pressure? Was Aoyama too passive in the third set? The Japanese media will be ruthless in their dissection of this loss because the expectation was a trophy or at least a semifinal. But for EALA and Martins, this is a launch pad. This win does 2 things. First, it boosts their ranking significantly. But more importantly, it destroys the imposter syndrome that young teams often feel. They now know with absolute certainty that they belong on a court with the best in the world. They didn't just beat a rank-and-file team. They beat a master of the craft. The synergy between EALA's lefty creativity and Martin's right-handed power is something that other teams will now have to scout. They are no longer a surprise package. They are a threat. As they shook hands at the net, the contrast was stark. Aoyama, head bowed, respectful but clearly in shock. EALA and Martins, beaming, jumping, embracing, a picture of pure, unadulterated joy. This result throws the bottom half of the draw wide open. The seeds that were expecting to face Aoyama in the quarters are now looking at a different path. The chaos of the upset trickles down. But for tonight, the story remains focused on that single court, that single match, and that single moment where the hierarchy of tennis was turned upside down. As the dust settles on Court 7, we are left to ponder the implications of what we have just witnessed. In the grand scheme of a 2-week tournament, one match can sometimes feel like a blip. But make no mistake, this was not a blip. This was a tectonic shift. The elimination of a world number for this early changes the ecosystem of the women's doubles draw. For the Japanese contingent, this is a somber evening. Shuko Aoyama has been a flag bearer for Japanese doubles excellence for over a decade. Her consistency has been the bedrock upon which many successful Fed Cup campaigns were built. To see her exit in this fashion is a stark reminder that in tennis, time waits for no one, and the younger generation is not asking for permission to take the torch. They are taking it by force. However, the spotlight must firmly remain on the victors. For Alexandra EALA, this is arguably her biggest win on the senior tour in doubles. We have watched her grow from a junior champion into a professional grinding through the ranks. We have seen the losses, the close calls, and the physical development. Today, all of that coalesced into a performance of supreme confidence. This one sends a message home to the Philippines. The investment, the patience, and the support are paying off. EALA is not just a singles hope. She is a legitimate Grand Slam contender in every format she plays. And let us not forget Ingrid Martins. The Brazilian played the match of her life today. Her bravery at the net in that third set was the catalyst for the victory. She took the risks that Aoyama refused to take, and fortune favored the brave. So what happens next? EALA and Martins will advance to the next round, and suddenly, their path looks very interesting. They will carry the momentum of giant killers. But with that tag comes a new kind of pressure. They are no longer the underdogs flying under the radar. They are the team that took out the world number 4. Their next opponents will study this tape. They will be ready. Can they back it up? That is the question that defines champions. Anyone can win once. Greatness is about consistency. But if today was any indication, this partnership has the chemistry and the grit to go deep into the second week. We will be following their journey closely. We will be there for their next match, watching to see if they can replicate this magic. But for now, let us appreciate the beautiful chaos of sport. The script was written for Aoyama, but EALA and Martins tore it up and wrote their own. Thank you for joining us for this extended analysis. It has been a day of high drama at the Australian Open, and we are only just getting started.